Alright, how's it going, guys? This is Double Wide 6, and today I got a little video for you on how to change the oil in your Honda Fit. The car I'm using is a 2008 Honda Fit. So we're going to be putting oil in it. The oil we're going to be using is actually this here from Walmart, Super Tech SAE 5W20 motor oil. I've been using this for a while, and I like Walmart's oil. It seems to be pretty good to me. I had a Toyota Tercel, had 160,000 miles. I've been putting Walmart oil in it. I asked the guy down at the counter at Walmart, I said, hey, who makes your oil for you? He told me Mobil 1. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know why he'd lie about it, but they're probably having their oil made by someone pretty decent, some reputable company. I also use the Super Tech filters. This one takes the ST7317 oil filter. So we're going to show you how to change the oil, and the car takes 3.75 quarts of oil. First thing that we have to do is actually bring the car up to temperature so that the oil's a little warmer to change it. So I usually drive about, I don't know, a mile, half a mile. That'll warm it up so the oil will drain nice. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually use these little boards. These are just 2x8s nailed together just to give me a little room because I'm fat, and that way I can get underneath the car. You can jack it up if you don't have boards or ramps like that. So I'll just run the car up there and then we'll start. Next thing I'm going to do is slide some cardboard underneath the strips, and then we're going to loosen up the plug. So the plug actually takes a number 17 socket. I recommend that you don't use a socket like this with all the ridges around it because it's easier to strip that bolt. You're better off getting a hex 17 millimeter socket, or you can use a wrench if you don't have one. Alright, so underneath the car you're going to have your plug. Okay, that's your oil plug. It's that nut right there, and you can see I took a marker and I wrote off with an arrow so I know which way to turn my wrench because you're upside down. The other thing you could do is just put your ratchet in the off position before you go under there, then you don't have to really think about it. So we're going to put our ratchet on that 17 millimeter nut there, and once we get it on there we're going to crank the ratchet to loosen up the nut. So there we go, it just loosened. You don't want to over tighten that nut, but you need it to be tight enough, you know, that it doesn't leak. So I'm just taking this out and I put my oil pan underneath. You want your oil pan about at least a foot back because it's going to kind of shoot out. So you don't want to drop your plug, but right there we go, and you can see the oil is draining in the pan, and anything that we miss will get on the cardboard. Alright, so our oil's gradually draining out. We're going to let that drain, and if we look on the back side of opposite that nut or bolt, you can see the oil filter. So it's right up here. Also, I have it labeled to take off the oil filter. You want to turn it counterclockwise, and I have an arrow going to the left. So we're going to put our filter wrench on there and take off our filter. Once again, you want to make sure you have your oil pan underneath that to catch any oil that's going to drip out. Alright, so now I have my filter wrench on my oil filter, and I'm just going to turn this counterclockwise and try and loosen it up, except it's extremely hard to show with the camera. So I'm just going to put my wrench on there and take off the filter. Alright, so I've loosened up the filter, and now what I want to do is turn it by hand. It's still on there pretty tight, but I'm just turning it by hand. And when you get this thing to pop out, you can let the oil come out into the pan, and then you want to put the bottom end of the filter down so it doesn't leak all over your hand. So as I'm loosening this up, I'm trying to let most of the oil drip out of it. It takes pretty many turns to get it out. And there we go. And you want to kind of tilt it this way so it doesn't drip all over the place. And we'll just dump it out like that into the pan. Alright, so now we're ready for our new filter. We're going to take some oil off the old filter just to get a good seal. And we're going to wipe that oil right around the gasket. So you can reach in there and just make sure the gasket's wet with oil all the way around. That's going to help seal it up nice. And then what I like to do with these filters is just hand tighten them. So I'll put them on as tight as I can get them with hand, and then I'll take a rag so my hand doesn't slip, and I'll tighten it as tight as I can by hand. They usually tighten up on their own. So I'll install that next. So our new filter's going on, and you just want to screw it in there and hand tighten it until it stops, and then I'll take a rag and I'll crank it as tight as I can. And before you put in your new oil, you want to tighten up your oil plug. So the oil plug is going to go right up here. You can see it's still dripping a little bit. Just carefully thread that in, and I just snug it up with a ratchet. You don't want to over tighten it. So we'll just snug that up. So tighten up that bolt and hand tighten with a rag so your hand doesn't slip your oil filter, and that'll complete everything underneath the car. Alright, so next thing you guys want to look at is on the handle of your oil can. It gives you some little lines. It shows you the liters and it shows you the quarts. So we want to put in, according to the manufacturer's manual, 3.75 quarts. So I marked the quart side right down here with a red line, and basically I'm going to kind of eyeball it till I get to that red line, and that's the amount I want to put in. So I'll put in a little less, and then we'll check the dipstick. The oil's going to go right in here. You want to make sure that you have SAE 5W20. So we'll pull out our cap so we don't lose it. You're going to want a decent sized funnel. Make sure you clean your funnel before you add the oil in. And we're just going to pour in down to that red line, and then we'll check it. Alright, so I added the proper amount of oil. So the next step, we're going to pull our funnel out. I like to keep a rag here so I don't make a mess. And you want to cap off your oil. Before you pull the dipstick, you need to start the car. That way the oil gets pulled through the oil filter. So I'm going to start the car, and then we're going to show you how to check the dipstick to make sure we have the right amount. Alright, we now started the car, so we're going to pull the dipstick. First thing you want to do is pull the dipstick and wipe it off so it's clean, get all the oil off of it. We're going to reinsert it all the way down, back up, and this time we're going to try and read it. And as you can see, it's a little hard to see, our oil is slightly low, so I'm just going to top it off a hair, and because I filled it about 3.5 quarts, so I'm going to go up to the full 3.75 and just carefully recheck it till I get it to the top. You don't want to overfill it. If you do overfill it, you're going to have to drain it out the plug. So that's the whole process for changing your oil. I'm Double Wide 6. Please subscribe to my videos. Thanks for watching.